Hi, I'm John,
I'm Andrew.
I'm Ben.
and this is Agree to Disagree. We are going to. I always forget to say this. So I'm going to say it this time. We're coming at you live from the back room at Hi-Fi Brewery in Redmond, Washington.
I don't think you know what lives mean. I don't think you know what lives.
It is
live means.
everything you record is always live at the time you say it's live.
yes.
I mean, I guess. I suppose if you're going like in that context.
The only real editing I do to these things is making sure I don't say as much as I normally do,
So make
and
them-
how often I stutter.
to make them slightly more coherent than normal.
Well, now I'm super conscious of every time I'm going to do anything wrong ever.
You guys don't worry.
You should be ruined as a person right now.
I
already am.
I make you look good.
Anyway.
All right, so Ben is here. Special occasion. We got Ben,
Hi.
who has never seen any of the Star Wars trilogy.
This is true.
Yeah.
So that is where we're starting because as the person that he is, it is rather astonishing that he has somehow managed to dodge it because he literally has a peach tattoo on his arm right now, and the man falls under most forms of nerddom, so it's a little bit astonishing.
Well, most sans this, hence the conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Sorry, ConverStation.
That's the name of the show.
So,
How do we want to start this?
Well,
I feel like we shouldn't have to explain Star Wars.
well, I want to start this with a little background. The reason this came up was that Rogue One recently came out. Well,
Yes,
it came out a little while ago.
Couple months.
And
recent compared to the originals, which was 40 years ago.
recent compared to most of the things we talk about on here.
Most of the good Star Wars movies.
Yeah, very good. Very
there
good.
you go.
And Ben had mentioned that he went to go see Rogue One and he hated it.
Absolutely hated it.
Which we were confused by, but
I mean, we'll get into that probably in a bit, but no, I absolutely hated it. I thought it was my partner, my wife really wanted me to go with a few of her friends, and after the movie was done, I kind of was in the lobby and was just shouting about how bad the movie was, and everyone kept giving me looks, and I was like, guys, like, I understand you have your biases, but that movie was legitimately shit. And I will discuss this in way more detail.
and the thing is, like, you say it, and now that we have the context of like why, this makes so much more sense. That's like dragging someone to see like Civil War, and they're like, I haven't seen anything else. Why am I here? Who are these people? Why are they punching each other? Ah.
Or like on another large scale, you take someone to see like the something we talked about. You take someone to see one of the middle of the road Harry Potter films, and they have no context for Harry Potter. They're just like, why are the things happening?
Yeah, like we like dragged Ben to Order of the Phoenix, and he had never seen a Harry Potter movie before, and it's just like shouting and throwing things at the screen. Like, why is it? What is going on?
So they're magic? Is that then they're the bad ones?
Admittedly, you heard what I had to say about it, and I'm the one who watched it, and I was able to rant for 2 hours. Can you imagine what like someone who had never seen the Harry Potter series would do to like a movie theater after that?
All right. Okay. I guess that's old news. Let's
Yeah,
move on.
no, totally. I guess my question is, how do we start this without accidentally revealing something to the guy who's never seen this?
John has thought this through.
What
Okay.
I want Ben to do is I want Ben to tell us from his perspective what the story. Admittedly, I'm stealing this from a rather old YouTube video.
Sure.
But I want you to tell us what the story of Star Wars is.
So, okay, as a precursor, you've told me that this question's going to come up, and I have legitimately not thought of an answer because every time I do it sounds ridiculous, which also discusses the Star Wars franchise as I know it as a whole. The only real story capacity that I know is that there's this bloke, and if I'm wrong, don't correct me until after the fact.
We are
planning
not
on
going to
it.
correct you.
From what I understand, which is probably wrong, there's this bloke who wears the black cloak, Darth Vader, right? Cool. And he pilots the Death Star, which is a ship and or planet. I'm not entirely sure which. And then at some point there's a war or a rebel faction or the correct faction, the good guys. Let's just call them the good guys. They circle the spheroid planet star thing and shoot into an air vent that blows the whole thing up. Also somewhere there's like some weird like incest, I didn't know you were my family story. And something about I'm your father, and that's apparently the joke or the turning point. And the guy goes like, no, and that's That's the first episode, maybe. In later episodes, there's that trash compactor thing. I had a partner in college who made like the little Han Solo. I don't know who that is, but the Han Solo like ice cube trays with the carbonite. Look, some chemical fucking thing.
No, honestly, just keep going because this is.
Keep going, and
We're not gonna say a damn thing.
we're not
going
gonna
to
say a damn
right
thing,
or wrong.
and we're not gonna make fun of you in any way.
Oh, you should, because this is awful.
We'll make fun of you in the next episode.
Got it.
This is quality stuff, and
Right.
we're not
so
about to mock you.
Somewhere it's. I understand. I've divulged less into a plot and more. I've just seen things that have happened.
Sure.
But yeah, there's that trash compactor scene. There's some pod racing somewhere along the way. They had the swords, like those swords. I actually know the name, but I can't remember them. Lightsabers. Yes, not the candy, the sword.
Not lifesavers, damn it.
Man, I would love a candy called lightsaber.
I'd probably buy that.
But there's that. I don't know, like, because everyone. Apparently that takes 3 episodes. Maybe I just described 1 episode and never saw the rest of them.
You're doing your best. Like this is.
Considering
actually
I've never
very
seen
entertaining.
it, and all I've seen is like very sparse YouTube clips and then references by my professors who want to try and relate to their students.
And admittedly, I think.
Hey kids, let's relate by talking about a movie that came out in 1977.
That's why I got her along with my screenwriting professor, man.
I mean, on the one hand, it's not wrong, but if it were any other movie, that would be ridiculous.
I got along with my screenwriting professor because of Citizen Kane. Boom.
Well,
But I was also in a screenwriting class.
Yeah, there you go.
But no, and I think, just side note, I think this is one flaw of not just this series, but like all franchises, this like world spanning, is inevitably it all just devolves into memes and scenes rather than a coherent plot, at least in a pop culture context. Like I would bet good money I could show like, I don't know, a stormtrooper to like some random kid in China and they would know exactly what they're looking at. And that's the kind of weird thing where it's less about the story and more about the weird iconography that surrounds it. But like, I don't know. I guess that's sort of pulled together from Ben's thing there.
Well, that's sort of the bit, and that's kind of what I know about it. Is just the snippets that I get from pop culture. So like, I know what a stormtrooper is. I know it's the bloke in the white metal costume thing. The soldiers that suck at everything. Apparently, Rogue One they have black costumes as well, which I thought was reserved for the Emperor Darth. Is Darth the title or his name?
I'm not going to correct you until you see the movies. I hope you understand that. It's going to be a lot of me and John being like, nope, we're not going to correct that for like this entire episode because we really do want you to get as original of an experience as possible.
I feel like this entire thing is like, I can't say anything. I plead the fifth until a week from now.
The thing is, it's not going to incriminate you. We've already established that you've never seen a Star Wars film.
That's still correct.
And along with that goes the fact that what you know about the series is pretty much cultural zeitgeist stuff.
True.
You know about these things that happen. You know some of the words and some of the names, and you don't know how or when they happen, but you know that there is something involving like a planet, thing, spaceship that they need to destroy.
And there's the TIE fighter. Those are 2 damn robots. The C-3PO and the R2D2. I know that one.
So what is the name of the main character of the movie?
Skywalker. Luke Skywalker.
Hey, there you go. All right.
It was a toss-up between that and Han Solo. I actually had to think about this.
You wouldn't be completely wrong. I mean, the story does follow Luke Skywalker, but
both are adequate answers, really.
Right. Okay. So now that we've gotten that out of the way,
Sure.
we have established how much or little he knows about the franchise.
The answer is little.
Yes.
Was there ever a moment in your life where you realized you have never seen this thing that other people saw, and then you thought about maybe you should watch it, and you just kind of went, nah?
Has there ever been a moment in my life where I basically realized that, okay, I'm reading the question to make sure I answer it properly. Has there ever been a moment where I realized I hadn't seen it, had the opportunity to, and I was like, not for me?
Right.
I think it's a weird thing with me and nerd culture in particular, and this applies to a lot of series, not just Star Wars. A good example would be like Doctor Who or some other big franchises. Like the more popular it gets, the more I tend to abstain from it because I don't want to be involved in the weird circle jerk for 2 reasons. One, it's a bit of a waste of my energy because I hate it's the reason I love the idea of this podcast, because I love having an intellectual disagreement with people versus like, this was awesome. It's like, I agree. And that's just it.
Admittedly, welcome to why I stopped paying attention to Doctor Who, because man, those fans suck occasionally.
Right. And so that was part of it.
Email your complaints to whatever John's email is nowadays.
Go ahead and email your complaints to john@gggames.org.
I'm sure that
I didn't think he was actually going to do that.
That is JON at gggames, GAMES.org. O-R-G.
Perfect. Enjoy getting the weird Whovian hate mail.
I would really like to get some email in there occasionally.
Even if it is claiming that your co-host is a monster.
The day that I get some hate on anything I produce, that is the day that I'm like, I made it. I finally did it.
You sound like the host on a brand new NPR podcast.
I mean,
No, so yeah, I guess that I can totally see that problem.
NPR, if you'd like to hire me, send an email to john@gggames.org.
Just gonna be shilling contact info. That's all this show is now.
But to jump back a bit, that's the big thing with me. It's just the more things get popular, more I just kind of don't buy into it.
Yeah.
It's just the other side of it is that I'm late into the game already. Like, and I had the things that I do love. We've had a very mini tangent on some of the things I do love in previous episodes.
Yeah.
It's not even that I can't find the time. It's just I don't have a compelling reason to do so other than just catch up on information that I don't feel like I necessarily need to survive.
To that end, that's why I did not watch the newer Battlestar Galactica for a very long time, because I had missed the boat when it first came out, and then over time it was just I never got around to it. And then I had friends that were trying to get me to watch it, and at the time the pilot episode was not on Netflix, and so because of that, it was like, oh, we cannot watch this if the pilot's not on it. And so I put it off for a really long time. When I did actually watch it of my own accord, I loved that show. Up until the very end, but I love that show.
Right. And
The ending sucks.
The ending sucked.
got it. I will also note that from when I also watched that answer, never gonna happen. But
Yeah.
also for the listeners, you can take this podcast and replace Star Wars with Firefly, and it's the exact same
I was going to say, so
conversation.
I was going to bring up Firefly, because Firefly was my big one on this, where I completely missed the boat on it.
That was not scripted, I promise.
And I didn't watch it for a long period of time, and finally one of my roommates in college convinced me to, and I just could not give a single shit about that show. It was everything that I had seen in like Cowboy Bebop or like in space westerns in way worse form, clearly getting screwed over by a network on like budget and talent, and being like, why does everyone love this show? I was actually genuinely baffled. To this day, I still don't like. I don't hate it. It's just I don't care for it. And in that aspect, I see your point. Mm-hmm. Like, it is always frustrating to jump on the bandwagon 10 years too late and realize the horses are dead.
Well, here's the bit, and I don't want to short circuit the podcast necessarily, but every viewer, you two, the host, and every listener listening to this has this example. It's just mine is particularly obtuse in American culture. Like, everyone has that thing where they're just like, no, I don't keep up on this particular thing because it's not worth my effort to do so.
You're right.
And I'm going to be that jackass and be like, no, Star Wars is not, for me at the moment, and we'll talk about this a bit later, is not my gig until I'm handcuffed and forced to watch it Pulp Fiction style. Or is it Clockwork Orange?
Clockwork Orange.
Thank you.
Clockwork Orange.
Also haven't seen
Pulp Fiction involves a lot of other horrifying things that I don't want to bring up.
Got it. Fair.
Speaking of which, you should actually watch Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, that conversation is going to come up a lot.
That'll come up some other day.
I'm not surprised.
I'm sure it will.
I mean, it just means that, because this is the funny thing, so I've written both papers on both this set of movies, and on Pulp Fiction for screenwriting classes in college, and like movie classes, and I wrote 12-page papers about both of them. So,
just change this podcast to movies that Ben hasn't watched.
It's like changing it to movies that Caleb hasn't watched. We'll just be here all day. It'll just be me and John, like, actually Clockwork Oranging you guys and being like, what do you mean he hasn't seen this one either? All right, put it in the thing. Force him to watch it. Apparently we're never leaving here.
Okay, so here's
to tie it back. Go on.
here's my proposal for you, Ben. I have acquired the original Star Wars trilogy movies, the first 3 movies that were made, and I've acquired the despecialized versions. So they're as close as you can get to the original versions of the film.
So I'm going to actually explain something very quickly that doesn't really reveal anything to Ben, but
Right.
explain a point in culture.
Before you do that, you do that, we'll get right back to that. But
Sure.
my proposal to you is that we are going to watch the first movie, and then after that, we will decide if you will decide if we watch any of the others.
Oh.
Because
I feel like that's fair.
The first movie. Thank you, Caleb. Go ahead.
I was American sign languaging for another beer. Yes, please.
It works. So
Continue. Sorry. Right.
So the first Star Wars movie is just over 2 hours long.
Holy shit. Okay.
It is I believe 2 hours and 2 minutes long.
looking that up, but
So,
keep going.
Based off of that, if you're really not feeling it, we'll just say we'll do the second half of the episode just off of that movie. Otherwise, if you do like it and you're interested in seeing what happens next, then we'll.
Now I will somewhat counterpose to it because I like the idea behind it, but this would be an interesting conversation to have in 1977 when the movie came out, and then whatever the following
21 minutes, he's
sequel came out shortly after that. Thank you.
Okay. So what's your counter proposal?
Well, the counter proposal is that nowadays we are in 2017 as opposed to this recording, which every time I've had this conversation with every person, it was like, you have to watch 4, 5, and 6, like, to really appreciate and all that sort of stuff. And I want to give, in fairness, the best opportunity for the series to succeed.
Yeah.
Right.
Because I am the arbiter of what is good and bad in this universe.
Apparently.
And therein is the thing. I'm not sure if you understand this. When I say we're going to watch the first one is episode 4.
No, I get that.
Okay,
I understand that the sequels, it's all really goofy. That it's 4, 5, and 6 as the original trilogy. It's
You
what
would be
people
correct.
call the trilogy. And then it's 1, 2, and 3. And then 7 and the one before. Yeah, then there's 7 and then Rogue One. And
It's very
That's where the
confusing.
timeline gets weird.
Well, because now they're doing
Cycles.
What they're doing is they're calling them Star Wars stories.
Right.
They are the ones that are going to come out in the years between actual Star Wars films, just to make sure that Disney gets every single dollar out of this franchise they possibly can.
Oh, if I can ask for a refund, I would.
So what is your counter proposal then?
Well, so my counter proposal is that I will commit either one day or a weekend or whatever time we happen to fit because we're all busy adults.
Sure.
To watching 4, 5, and 6. To whatever you think is the best order and timeline of doing so. Which is to say, like, do we watch them? Do we spend an 8-hour day busting through them? Do we watch them one day at a time on a particular day? You know, whatnot.
So 4, 5, and 6 is the order. So
Sure.
I will get into some lore on that in a minute because I adore talking about this sort of stuff.
Also, I promised we would get back to you talking about why to specialize.
So I would say personally, whichever one you're more comfortable with, I'm with John in the fact that I think you definitely should be exposed to the first one, and from there, why don't we let you choose the order? I would say one day this weekend, let's choose to just sit down and watch at least A New Hope as a group. And then we can sit down because I think John and I are more than happy to make time for watching Star Wars films.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's that.
Just solid.
I think you're the only one who is more reluctant about this simply because of what the topic of this is. I think John and I are more than happy to make time to make this
I'm
more
more than happy
effective.
to sit down. I'll bring a growler. We'll watch some Star Wars.
That'd be great. That actually sounds like a fun weekend.
One of those fancy hi-fi growlers sponsored by...
Sponsored by the brewery we're recording at.
Sponsor is a dangerous word.
Yeah.
With the support of maybe a little bit better.
The brewery for which we owe a lot of thanks for allowing me to sit in their back room.
And record a show that is semi-listened to.
I think at this point we might actually have 5 listeners.
Hey!
Hello, you cool people.
Anyway,
Send us an email. We can call you off by name.
Contact
That is John at
gggames.org.
gggames.org.
Yes. .org.
.org. That's my new name.
I wasn't sure it was
I'm
organization or
the
company.
cipher to .com. Oh, Kim, I'm after you.
You sound like a Matrix character.
Good
Well, I
lord.
did say cipher.
We got an
God
entire
damn you, cipher.
We got an entire episode about that later. But
Anyway,
so
continue.
this is the entire point about the why. So if you don't understand this, because I doubt you do,
I sure don't.
there's a reason why it's important to me and why it's important to our listeners and hopefully important to you at some point, because we really do want to make you a convert out of this, which is essentially what this podcast is.
Calm down, Jehovah's Witness.
I had is that so in the original trilogy and when they were released over the course of like I think 7 years, but starting in 1977.
Okay.
There was an original cut of the film, which is the first cut of it that was put in theaters.
Mm-hmm.
It was a version that George Lucas agonized over for hundreds of hours. He had to fire multiple editors over it. It became a mess, and eventually he cut the movie to the way he wanted it to and sent it out to theaters. Now, over the course of the movie's damn near 40-year lifespan, there have been, I want to say, upwards of 10 different re-releases of it. But here's the thing. Since it was done by Lucas and under the sole ownership of Lucas, he continually edited and changed the film over the course of those 40 years,
Right.
to the point where there are enough edits to it where John and I could probably, within reason, make the argument that the new one that came out on Blu-ray is genuinely unrecognizable to us as the same films.
There is actually a quote from George Lucas that I remember when I was a very little kid. That was he had said that a film is never completed; it is only abandoned. Or maybe he was saying about art in general.
I thought it was about art in general.
And when I was a kid, I was like, "That's a really good quote." As an adult now, I'm just like, George, just abandon it. Let it go.
So I guess the important thing, especially for our audience and for myself and John, is that we're paying attention to the correct version. And god damn it, I just realized how much of an early Christian I sound like right now. No, we must pay attention to only this portion of the Bible. Why? Well, clearly this contradicts itself unto there, therefore we cannot. I feel like we're at like some early Christian church conference, and we're just like yelling about which sections of the Bible to pay attention to.
CG.
You just alienated one of our viewers.
The one evangelical Christian who accidentally stumbled onto this podcast.
I don't know. Can we misbrand this so we get other people's attention?
I don't know. We can.
I can throw whatever tags I want on it.
There you go.
But I'm not going to do that.
Throw on Gamergate. Let's get those guys.
Oh
on.
God, no!
Bail. Well, it's been fun. See you next week. It's been great.
No, I already pissed off men's rights activists in like the last 2 episodes.
Please, just don't dox me. It's all
I just don't want to die.
Yeah.
I'm not asking for much.
back.
Anger is one thing. I just gave out my email address.
Oh shit.
Don't piss
Oh, you're right.
That's John at gggames.org. Yes.
I feel like half of this podcast so far has been shilling John's email address.
If you're listening to the podcast, you probably at least know the company name.
You're not wrong, yeah.
That's a.
You'd be surprised.
Anyway, so I guess the main thing for us and our viewers is that we're paying attention to the version as it was originally meant to be seen by Lucas back during the 70s. And now I know that sounds super pretentious, but in that
as long as you said it.
in that aspect, it does make sense, because I mean, we can probably have a further rant about what changes due to directorial intent, just like with Blade Runner, when we get into the fact that there was that original narration over the top of it, and
Is
that
Blade
was
Runner
cut.
anything like Jet Set Radio? Because that sounds
Not even
You've never
close.
seen Blade Runner?
No.
We have another episode in the
God,
future.
can we just make movies that Caleb and Ben haven't seen?
Where's
the
my
show?
Where's my counter episode? Where do I get to bitch to you guys about like an hour and a half of wrestling? Like that's
I mean,
what
actually, I would watch that.
that's
I'd
actually-
listen to that.
I would love to do that after we
after
watch
the
Star
entire
Wars.
like 20 episodes.
No, I
of-
feel like this is like the next episode should be Payback, where Ben's just like, let me get you to watch like 5 hours worth of wrestling. Actually, you know, it's 6 hours worth of wrestling because you made me watch 6 hours worth of movies. That seems fair. That seems like a fair
Oh, it is
trade-off.
6 hours, isn't it?
It's 6 hours.
The wrestling jar.
Oh boy.
Well, that's the thing right there. We don't need to marathon through all the movies.
No.
We can sit down and we'll watch one of them, and then we can
if you want to bias my opinion, just watch him straight in a row and just continue feeding me growlers the entire time.
And
Like,
eventually it just becomes drunken rambling, either positive or negative. It's just like not even coherent at that point.
I'm taking notes, and it's eventually just going to change languages and be gibberish.
I used to actually.
There's a fly in a beer, or
There's a face in my beer.
Oh.
that's really happy.
It is a happy
It's
face.
so happy.
That's a good omen.
John,
Sorry.
Anyway, John had a moment, everybody.
Draw what you think the face looked like, and email it to john@gggames.org.
It just eventually becomes. This is an entire ploy to get Virgin Mary drawings of what it looked like, and we sell it off to crazy people. It's the same people who buy like holy tears and nonsense. Anyway, so
Okay, is this a Star Wars episode or is this let's hate on Christians episode?
Yeah, I was like,
I'm sorry.
going
Sorry,
in
I've
hard
done
on that
so-
one.
No. The first section wasn't hating. That's just actually an argument about like what's canon, whether in a biblical sense or whether in a
There is a reason this podcast is about pop culture.
Anyway, but no, it's a genuine argument that happens over like what is canon in a fandom, because I've run into those, because once again, I mean, this is the kind of circle jerk that you've been trying to dodge, but as someone who's accidentally stumbled their way into multiple fandoms and then smoke bombed their way out of the room, there are genuine conversations over like what is canon, what is not canon, what are we paying attention to? Welcome to Whovian culture, where suddenly everything's thrown out the window because this one person showed up, and that throws like 9 years worth of information out the
That was
window.
a weirdly apt analogy.
Yeah, you're
that
welcome.
I really appreciate.
Yeah.
As a side note,
Yeah.
I just got the idea for our next episode after Star Wars.
Was it Andrew rants about Doctor Who?
No,
Is it Andrew makes fun of the Bible?
no. Dear viewer, dear listener, you will have to find out later on.
Anyway, now that John has done his seductive radio voice.
Oh, is that was that closing, or is that?
No, it's
Nah.
not closing. I just wanted to tickle some
Oh,
ears. I just wanted to tease.
Oh, usually when you change voices,
I
like,
got a lot more terrifying there. Like that one from seductive radio voice is just creepy.
it's that fine line between seductive and Silence of the Lambs. You just gotta kind of figure.
Oh,
See, there's a movie reference you got. There you go.
I read the book in 7th grade, and I had to have
Why?
because I had.
you may be the only person in this brewery who has actually read the book.
I haven't either. You know,
I
you're right.
love that series. I had to get a permission slip from my teacher because, like, are you sure your son's not a psychopath? And my mom's like, I don't even know how to read, so it's probably fine.
Wait, what?
She's brilliant. I love her to death. Not her strongest capability, though.
Valid. All right, those things happen.
She thought it was about butterflies because that's on the cover was a butterfly.
It is so. It is to a certain extent.
I love that movie. I love that book, Raisins in the Sun. You know, it's about some raisins.
That dry up in the sun.
Yeah,
And now that's comparable to dreams.
yeah. Catcher in the Rye was a little weird. I'm not in a baseball guy though.
So
Back on topic.
Well,
here.
this is relevant because Star Wars at least tells you what the fuck it's about.
You
in
know,
the title.
admittedly, from titling, it is pretty self-explanatory.
It's also-
There is a war in the stars.
Yes.
Fuck off. That's the movie.
Actually, that is a good question. Do you know when Star Wars is supposed to take place?
the future.
Okay.
Because of obvious reasons, hopefully.
Yeah, valid.
It's a valid answer.
How much in the future? I have no idea.
I feel like most people don't know when it comes to their science fiction. Random thought, are you actually more comforted with a concrete date on your sci-fi, or does that bug you?
That bugs me.
It bugs me. I prefer my sci-fi to be completely devoid of date calling out. Like, as a great example, Back to the Future Part 2.
Also
Back to the
haven't
Future
seen.
Part 2 took place in the year 2015.
Oh, that's right. That's why Facebook blew up for
random
that day.
random side note, did you actually know that Biff was purposely based on Trump by the writers?
That actually is awesome because I had wanted to take Biff Tannen's Pleasure Palace and throw Trump's face on it and make it into a meme.
The writers beat you to it.
Okay.
Anyway.
Good on them.
No, so Star
All
Wars.
right. Sorry.
I'm
getting all amped up.
I feel like we've derailed this conversation from Star Wars at least 9 times.
Well,
okay.
I mean, this is a hard conversation, and this is exclusively my fault, and I know this.
Yeah.
Because it's really hard to have a conversation about a thing that you fucking love.
But that's
And I have never seen.
the other thing, though,
except for Rogue One, which is again shitty.
But this is also part of the reason that I called the podcast The ConverStation, or previously called it The Conversation, is because it is supposed to be natural conversation. It's supposed to
you're
weave around and go. Like, we have an overarching idea but it can go somewhere else, and we will come back.
Oh no, totally. And the other thing is, we also get to shoot the shit with Ben on air, which
Yep.
is always fun.
That's true. I am a pleasure.
Yes.
You are pretty wonderful to have on here.
I just figure I would save it for you. You don't have to compliment. I'll just do it myself.
Can
And-
you get
and-
real close to the mic and say pleasure again?
Pleasure.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody else getting Rocky Horror Picture vibes from that?
It's astounding.
Anticipation. There we go.
Ugh.
That's a good movie.
Jesus.
It's a good movie. It's a dumb movie, but it's a
dumb
good movie.
It is a technically bad movie made awesome by the fact that people are awesome and their music's actually pretty rockin'.
Huh?
No comment. I've never really seen that. Look, this could be a whole podcast in and of itself, but I'm not gonna go that far.
You ever feel like we're running Idiot Abroad only from a pop culture aspect? All right.
Hey, we can Netflix if you're interested in making that into a series.
Hey, I'd be down.
Netflix, if you're interested in making this into a series,
Ben watches
Yes. Contact-
Netflix and
You can do this
bitches
for
about
so many
just
things,
contact
though.
Ben at ben.ben.ben.
I'm not giving out my email address. I'm not that fucking stupid.
Brilliant. Admittedly, his is a business address, so in that aspect, John's probably just going to get spammed.
That is true. I am going to go home and check if ben.org is taken or not. Though.
Oh my god.
Ben.org. I
Oh.
wonder.
It's
You
gotta be.
just put a photo of your face.
I would also check to see if there's a suffix that is actually .ben, because
Oh yeah, might be depending.
there
on
might
country.
be these days.
Is there a country that begins with B?
See, they open it up a lot more though, because now there's even like
Well,
the
now
dot
it's
studio
open.
prefix.
Yeah, there's
suffix.
that. There's .XXX. There's .anything.
There's
Because
.XXX.
Yeah, because that was how the actual conversation started. Fun fact is that we needed to expand the amount of available websites, which is a really weird thing to say, and I'm not the expert on networking, so forgive me if I get something wrong. But we were running out of actual websites, and so we said, hey, if we don't limit what you can put as the dot whatever, we can have a lot more availability. So the first people that hopped on is like, hey, we do porn. Let's just call it .XXX. And so kids won't accidentally log on to whitehouse.com back in the 90s and actually get interracial porn.
Wait,
This is-
rewind. Fucking what?
You didn't know about that?
No.
Oh
this
my
is-
god.
Oh, this is absolutely
Oh.
a thing.
Oh,
I
this
can
is a joy.
I
Go
can,
for it.
Yeah, I can tell this vividly without graphic detail. So I remember back when I was in the third grade, which Christ is in 1998, 99, something like that. And we were having our first computer lab back on like Windows 98 machines. And on the whiteboard, the teacher wrote like, hey, we're going to learn about the government today. Go to whitehouse.gov, not whitehouse.com. And she was an idiot and she wrote both addresses down. So of course we're going to put in both addresses and see what happened. If you went to whitehouse.com, you got greeted by a lady in basically nipple stickers and a bikini bottom in front of the actual White House as like a graphic. And it's like, hey, like if you're 18 or older, hit enter. And it's like, well, sure we are. We're 10. That's basically 18. If you subtract 8 years, it's pretty much fine. We can do math. So we did. And our school did not have web censoring.
Yeah.
No.
And so we got greeted with a bunch of very hung black gentlemen poking the brains out of young white women.
Okay, so
Okay.
I was in junior high many years before you were with. Okay, so I was in junior high when the internet became a thing for normal people.
Yeah.
That was in the mid to late 90s. And they already had BES set up at my school district, which was not a rich person school district. This was we were on these Pentium 2 gateways. What? Like, this is okay. I'm just so hopping mad.
John, you've officially hit the average vocal tone and swearing of a 40-year-old.
No, it's
No, this is way worse.
how do you let children onto the internet in public education without net nannying?
I think you do realize. I think you're giving people too much credit. Dude, people do that nowadays.
I know this has no context for anyone outside of this room, but I'm from Federal Way. Federal Way in the 90s had a T1 internet connection in schools with net nannying set up. How did other people not have that?
Well,
For reference, people, Federal Way in the 90s, think like Gastown from Mad Max, and you're getting pretty close.
So my upbringing, totally related to Star Wars, is that I grew up in Southern Illinois in a town that basically we were pretending to be on the cusp of technology. Like, hey, we have a computer. Everyone stare at the computer.
Oh, it's like
we
that.
just got ourselves an Apple IIgs.
You know, it reminds me
Kinda.
of that time in The Simpsons when they're like, we used your winnings to be able we used your winnings from that A to be able to get ourselves our first computer, and it's just Ralph in a room just clicking buttons.
Hello, Super Nintendo shoppers.
Andrew, I'm gonna bust your bubble. I've never seen The Simpsons either.
You see, I've just come to the conclusion that both you and Caleb have never seen anything I love.
I'm convinced I wasn't.
okay.
I was born at 15 and just went onward.
He emerged fully formed from.
Sorry, Mom.
No.
Yeah, but you're more like a Sephiroth kind of character.
Just crawling out zombie style. Jesus. Anyway,
so we're going to be wrapping up here now.
Oh yeah.
Because honestly, Andrew has a place to go, and also we kind of divulged away from the actual topic, which
side note, that is the frustration of talking about this topic, is that you can't really talk about this without accidentally giving away something.
So for next episode, obviously I'll have watched at least one of the episodes, hopefully 3. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
What are you guys honestly, what are you guys looking more forward to? If I agree and want to rave about it, or hate it and want to cut people down?
Hell, both.
I want you.
I'd enjoy the shit out of it.
I'm not rooting for one way or the other. I'm just curious what you expect and curious what you're anticipating.
You are either gonna be like, yeah, they were good movies, and I want to talk about what I liked about the movies and actually just break down how you felt about it before and how you felt about it after. Or on the flip side, you could fucking hate it and be like, why did you waste my afternoon with this fucking piece of shit?
Man, I'm glad we tested the higher levels.
No, I mean,
this.
the thing is, as the guy who spent 2 episodes tearing down a childhood franchise of wizardry, I feel like nobody gives a shit.
Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Misery.
Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and go fuck yourself. It's a plot hole. It doesn't make any sense. To be very serious, though, honestly, I could take either way. Like, I'd actually be I'm interested to just see your reaction, just as I would be interested to see the reaction to, like, a man from the 1980s suddenly learning that internet is a thing, and just a guy who's been in, like, a coma being like, what do you mean I can find whatever info I need at times? Does this thing have porn? It has porn? Oh my god, what? And then just watching that man's brain explode. Like, I am interested in the inevitable, just like, you know, what the change might be if there is one. It's the Marvin the Martian earth-shattering kaboom moment.
So I heard you talking about this internet thing, and I went to the library, and you know they don't have a card catalog anymore. I couldn't find anything about the internet.
I had no idea.
I have no idea what it is.
I was uninformed, and I actually never had to live through a card catalog.
Isn't Dewey Decimal dead?
No, that
It
is
still
still
exists.
widely used in libraries. It's a good sorting system. Anyway, we're gonna wrap up here, folks.
On the Dewey Decimal System, because we are just fuck out of content apparently.
Quality
okay, so
podcast.
as a complete side,
Ben comes in, just kicks in the door,
As a-
ruins everything.
as a complete side note, if anyone is actually listening to this, I'd like to know what you think about the non sequiturs we go off and the tangents, and if it bothers you, we'll try to keep it reined in the future. But I kind of like the idea of this free form, moving wherever you want, but with the overarching idea that we will come back to the main topic at hand.
You make it sound like, if anyone's listening, I'm trapped in a well over here. 'Cause
There's this
really
guy
need
who's
rescuing.
He keeps peeking his head over the top of the well, and he's lowering this basket. It's really weird.
Did we just full circle into a Silence of the Lambs? Did
Well,
that happen?
We'll have
That's
circle
called
because
bookending, my friend.
God
yeah,
damn it.
started as Star Wars, ended on Silence of the Lambs.
This is great progression, everybody.
Goodbye, everybody.
See ya. Thank you.
Later.